Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I move that Bill 32, an act to strengthen and protect democracy in Alberta, be amended in Section 70 in the proposed Section 125.1 as follows. A, in subsection 2, by adding the following after Clause A. A1, facilities on Indian reserves. A2, facilities on Métis settlements. B, in subsection 4A, by adding A1, A2 after A. Mr. Chair, this has the effect of listing specifically where mobile polls are to be considered with special mobile polls. The Section 2 is facilities at which special mobile poll may be established include the following. It's important that we specify indigenous reserves and Métis settlements as a specific area within this bill, as I know this government, and I hope all members are committed to reconciliation. This is one of those small, symbolic, but I think very important points in terms of ensuring that we make elections free, fair, and accessible. Our country has a very sad and frankly shameful history when it comes to voting status for Indigenous people. Indigenous people did not have the right to vote until 1960, which is absolutely shocking and simply wrong. So it is very important that we ensure that remote areas, often Indigenous and Métis settlements are obviously very remote, have the opportunity for a special poll. Interesting, of course, that voter turnout tends to be very low at First Nations and Métis settlements. On average in 2015, 20% lower than the Canadian average. So the more people who vote, the more engaged they are, and it is, of course, the democratic right of everyone in this country to access voting. Special polls is one way of doing that. If the chief and councils ask for special mobile poll, I think it's important we accommodate them and make it easier to vote, not harder. Have had some conversations with government on this, and I am encouraged that perhaps they will in fact support this, and I would very much obviously like very much to see that support. I also want to just very briefly, and as I conclude my remarks here, thank Parliamentary Council for some quick work this evening in fixing up this amendment for us and renumbering it here at the last minute. And of course, I also would be remiss if I didn't mention my very capable staff who proposed this idea. Thank you to each of them for the work that you've done to move this amendment forward. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Honourable Minister of Labour.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the member for this amendment. As you stated, yes, we are committed to reconciliation, and we've already moved an amendment this evening that specifically addresses Indian reserves and Métis settlements, and as such, I'm prepared to. I think this is a good amendment. I'd like to recommend we accept to my colleagues.
Are there any other members wishing to speak to Amendment A6? Seeing and hearing none, I'll call the question. On Amendment A6 as proposed by the Honourable Member for Calgary-Elbow, are you agreed? Agreed. Opposed? And that amendment is carried.